I have a Renault Clio on test again. In fact, I have it back to back to the orange Renault Clio that I just did a test of. And under here is something special, a massive, gigantic engine. Let me show you. Apparently you cannot open the hood if you don't open the doors. Something new we learn every day. But let me show you this. You'll be surprised. Look at this. It's a 4-cylinder engine, 1.5 liters. Have you ever seen a giant engine like that before? Yeah, I'm afraid we're going towards this being a massive engine these days, but I'm really interested to see how this compares to the 3-cylinder 1-liter engine that I've just tested. I think this should be a lot better. The 3-cylinder engine might be what the average buyer gets, but I think people should really think about bigger alternatives. Clio is still a Clio, nice to look at from the outside, and this lovely color. The times when a Clio was a boring A to B transport are over. Now Renault gives you plenty of options to make your car a little bit special, a little bit different. LEDs at the back and front, a big infotainment screen, digital instruments. The little guy is certainly keeping with the times. And let's not forget the quality of materials, which all got an upgrade. The switches as well. You know, it's really funny how one's perception changes of things when you're saturated with something. So for example, now lately I've been driving cars with tiny engines, not even with 4 cylinders. They had 3 cylinders and not even 1 liter of volume, like in the Nissan Juke and in the Renault Clio, the orange one I was just testing. And now I'm testing this lovely blue, well, light blue, baby blue Clio. I know that's not the official name for the color. And it has a 4-cylinder, 1.5 liter diesel like I shown you before. And it just really does feel like it's a massive engine. It feels like, oh yeah, I'm driving a car with a proper engine now, even though 1.5 liters, I don't know, just 10 years ago would have been considered reasonably small. I suppose it still is, but it's just, yeah, it's a different perception. However, having said that, you know, this is obviously not designed to be a racing engine, but I do have to say that compared to the Clio with a 3-cylinder engine, it feels so much nicer. I cannot describe how much better this is if you're driving this car. So if you're buying one, I truly suggest you splurge a little bit more and get the diesel, especially if you're concerned about fuel consumption. If you'd like a bit more fun, then I would suggest you get the excellent, truly excellent 1.3 liter 4-cylinder petrol engine. Oh, this road is just horrible. I tend to pick the worst roads because, well, they are the emptiest. Anyway, yeah, let's talk about this engine. I know you could say that this is me being very biased towards against 3-cylinder engines because, well, I'm not a fan of them, and that's true. However, I will give you some very objective reasons why this 4-cylinder diesel is better. One, of course, is torque. It's a diesel, so that's a given. Two, it's got 4 cylinders instead of 3. I know that's just a number to some people, but the big reasoning here is that despite being a diesel, and I know diesels have been getting far more civilized in the past 10 years than they were in the, well, past. But yeah, it's more civilized and quieter a lot of the time than that 3-cylinder petrol. Just because of the 3 cylinders, everything seems to judder, and at certain RPMs it seems to, you know, you have to push it more because it's just 3 cylinders and 1 liter of volume and so on and so forth. It doesn't quite have the torque to do what the diesel can at much lower RPMs. So that's another reason. And then yet another one, and probably the biggest one that people can relate to or appreciate, is the fuel consumption. I could not quite believe my eyes when I saw this, but it is quite impressive. So before I tell you about the consumption, let's just say that, okay, this Clio has the one level higher equipment, I believe, than the orange one. It doesn't have the RS line equipment, which means that it's got more comfortable seats. It doesn't have those sporty seats, although I do miss the little interior details of that one. I think that was quite nice, but you know, I can live without it because, well, not everyone wants to have sporty seats and the exterior and all of that. But anyway, that's beside the point. I wanted to say that because I know this is a differently equipped Clio. It's got a little bit more equipment apart from the RS line package, but that's not the point here. The point was that engine and the consumption. Like I said, I could not quite believe it. Right now I'm averaging, this is not instant fuel consumption, 3.9 liters per 100 kilometers. I got it down to 3.8 before, and the funny thing is, I got onto the motorway and drove for about 30 kilometers when it started dropping. Now usually, nowadays, because engines are so small, and you get fewer gears, sometimes 5 gears. This one has 6 gears manual. You tend to notice that the cars are much better throughout the city and between towns like this than on the motorway, where they have to have high RPMs, lots of power, and so on and so forth. And they actually consume much more there. But here, well, it was hovering around 4 liters. At 133-ish kilometers per hour, which was really impressive. And that is why the average fuel consumption also dropped. And here in the city, I mean in the city and the outskirts, it's possibly even better. I mean, there, I'm driving about 50 kilometers per hour and it's hovering from 2.4 to around 3 liters instant fuel consumption. I mean, you know, that's the kind of numbers I could live with. And the thing is, you're not really compromising with this engine then. Yeah, it's a diesel, you'll be paying more for it. That's, I suppose, the only real compromise. And it's got AdBlue, which you have to worry about every now and then, but I don't really see that much of a downside. It's such a minor thing, and you know you have a much more torquey engine up at the front, which sounds smoother and in a way nicer for me. And you don't have to worry about it blowing up because it's such a tiny little thing working overtime all the time. So, the final verdict is, I still don't like 3-cylinder engines, and thankfully this diesel isn't one. It's a 4-cylinder, like I've said many times now. And if you are buying a Clio, despite the fact that the orange one, without all the extras and the RS line equipment package, is the most popular choice apparently, I implore you, look at the diesel. And if you don't like the diesel, if you want to have a petrol, just go for the 1.3 liter because it's a 4-cylinder and it's a really nice little engine. But this diesel, I like it a lot. The diesel is available with the second cheapest version, starting at 14,500 euros. The more powerful 115 horsepower one costs 16,000 euros, while the 130 horsepower petrol starts at 17,600 euros. If you take the more powerful 3-cylinder, just add 2,000 euros for the more powerful 4-cylinder diesel. I heartily recommend it.